Well, we are joined virtually by Gavin Rossdale today. One of the plus sides of doing Skype interviews is I get to see rock stars' homes, but I do wish we were doing this in person. That is a pretty rock and roll setup you have going there. Are you in your Los Angeles lair right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually in my little. I set up a studio to do these little in my dining room, just to do some live recordings, live streaming stuff, and it's pretty cool. I'm surrounded by really beautiful, nice colored amps, really nice microphone, and just trying to. I did a couple of them. I did one for Instagram that worked out really good, and I did one for Facebook where I when I heard it back, I was like, oh my God, I can't hear my guitar. So I was like really annoyed at the sound guy, but that's me. So, shoot, I need to step it up. So I tried to step it up. So now I just did one yesterday for Cumulus. I think it'll be on our website later today. I don't know when this interview's coming out. And so that's now I found the kind of like, okay, if I'm going to do this wooden music thing and just sit and play, or I use electric and stuff as well. But, so yeah, it's fun. So yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, well, that brings me to something I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, with Bush, you are used to playing like sheds and stadiums and arenas and to large crowds who like cheer after a song and applaud. Not you're not just playing out into the ether. So, how are you adjusting to this new normal of, at least for the time being, most of your live performances will be these like scaled down live stream sort of situations?
Yeah, music in a vacuum. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's been intriguing to see really what stand-up comedians do when they doing an Instagram story is a bit like being on a stand-up comic. You might even not even be funny, but it's just being on stage and just talking and just holding court and not just staring at the phone saying checking in on you and then looking at the comments weirdly. You have to like talk and tell stories and stuff. So it's been interesting, but there's so much horror going on out there in the world of on the front line that everything that we do just seems irrelevant and immaterial. And all we're trying to do, I'm trying to do, is like do something that I was asked to do when I was doing Instagram Live, and like sing something, play something, So it's like, well, really, that's what people want from me, I'm not really meant to be a comedian, even though I'm English, so I got wicked sense of humor. But you know what I mean? It's like should be about performing for people. So it's been fun doing that. I enjoy
Is
it.
it is it weird in a way to like, do you feel strange about promoting or releasing a new album when all this is going on? There are some artists that have postponed postponed record releases. Obviously many people have had to postpone their tours. Like, is there any part of you, because sometimes I feel that way, like when I'm writing about things and just trying to do my regular job, I'm like, it feels kind of weird to be just kind of trying to proceed as normally as I can when there's all this craziness outside. Does anything feel strange to you?
I mean, obviously, it's an unprecedented, strangest times we've ever lived in, right? But I think that I mean, our release got delayed until July 17th. I think just because I don't know, just whatever it was. That's just not my lane. And uh, but I think that when you release music now, having Flowers on a Grave doing really well, it just taps into the zeitgeist, the loneliness, the
Hmm.
death themed. I mean, all my stuff is death themed because I'm obsessed with life. I'm obsessed with life, and so therefore I have to be mindful and obsessed with death as well. And that's just struck a chord. And I think that at a time of crisis, it's a beautiful thing to release music that can, in some way, kind of, soothe or give comfort or give escape. That's what it's always been about. So, I mean, I'm sure the marketing guys are, "Ah," but I mean, but the funny thing is, I've always thought about this thing through the releases, right? If I think of any of my favorite records, if I took my top 20 favorite records that I just adore, I don't care when they were released or when they came out or anything about them other than I just love them. And so
Hmm.
my kids, play a Lamb of God track, or AC/DC. They don't know anything about them, but they just get a vibe off of that moment. And so it's just about making it great. So I'm all for giving people something in quarantine.
Well,
While we're at time, what a wonderful thing to be able to like, okay, I'm going to listen to this damn record the whole way through.
that's actually interesting because when I was studying up to do this interview, the new album that's coming out in July, The Kingdom, it was described as sort of a vision of a utopian world, like a whole, like, an ideal society or whatever. I mean, how strangely timed to be when we're living in, a dystopian society in some ways that's the theme of this album. Can you tell me a little bit? Obviously, this was written way before what's going on, but can you tell me a little bit about the inspirations of that theme and what your vision of this ideal society is?
Well, the funny thing is that it it was beautifully documented just before, and this was only a few weeks ago because the last two songs of the record was "The Kingdom" and "Flowers on a Grave," and when I came across that lyric of "The Kingdom" and I was thinking about it so much, I was just so sick of self-righteous, uh, judgmental people, and I was thinking that why do we have to suffer all these fools around us the whole time? And society is all seen through the prism of everyone else's judgment, like everyone else is perfect. We're all imperfect. And, I had so much that treatment of me, and, I experienced that in my life, press-wise and stuff like that. And you just see it, other people, the way one person talks about another, the way people feel, it just was driving me nuts. And, I had a couple of episodes that really made me feel about that. Someone I was dealing with just drove me nuts, and then all this came along, and I really think that so I thought about the Kingdom as this place of like-minded people, where free of these constraints. It's more like a tribe. It's like a way of thinking. So it's not joining a gang. It's just having a mental connection to other people that just are like cool and open-minded and easygoing and interesting and interested in things. That's it. And the one thing that we can take out of this is that people have had this time now to self-reflect and have time to just think about what life was beforehand and the restrictions we have on us now, and was it really necessary to have all those fights? Was it necessary to have those wars? When you look at people now, you realize the interconnectedness of society and how we rely on each other, and we're all a framework, and we can't exist without that person. That person's the wing, that person's the tail, that person's the... and that's an incredible thing to think of. Now, I'm not a hippie, so I don't feel that like everyone's going to come back together and be like, but there's got to be a sense of people are going to bring the best part of themselves back to society when we reform. And so I think that it's almost essential that we bring out the Kingdom in the middle of all that, so that people that like this kind of music and are interested in these ideas can get to know that and find solace in that. When you come out, to me, it's the greatest triumph. The first shows when we come back, whenever they are, like, in a year's time, going to be so triumphant, so beautiful, and so appreciative and appreciated. And I think it's going to be incredible. I feel bad when I talk about things like this because I get excited about it because I see the light, the positive light at the end of this terrible tunnel. But it's at the same time that today is going to be allegedly the worst day of highest rate of deaths. So as we say this, you and I were talking about this, and that's a really nice guitar, and I like that chorus how you sang it, and like someone's like fighting for their life. So it's a real. I feel I've never felt guilty, but I feel a sense of guilt about that because it's really going on.
No, I feel that often too because I'm much more fortunate than a lot of people out there. Do you mind me asking, we were talking about like kind of the lyrical inspirations of the Kingdom, and you said you went through a couple episodes. Are you willing to share like anything specific that put you into the mindset of this album in that way?
Just in that regard, just a couple episodes where you just in situations where you just completely misunderstood and you have a falling out with someone, and just a disagreement based on nothing more than misunderstandings, and it's the fact of not being heard and not being listened to, not being understood. I think is a basic human right, and when that right on whatever level is betrayed, you just lose faith in people, and then in trying to resolve situations, having self-righteous, awful people that you're trying to reason with, and that's when I thought about the whole thing of the Kingdom. Imagine a place without these fools, and unfortunately, life throws up fools all the time. And so you hope that people, all those idiots and those fools will behave like that, that maybe this time allows them for some self-reflection. I know I have self-reflection at this time, and think about things and think about how I've treated people, how I want to be treated. And I miss human interaction. I haven't had it for 3 weeks, so it's a funny one. I'm a bit of a loner anyway, so it's actually not that much of a stretch for me. But just a little TLC here and there, just all you need, really. It's fine for me.
Yes, when I was doing, a search to, just other things that have been in the news with you or other interviews you've done in preparation for this interview, the first thing that came up was a Daily Mail article of you doing Tai Chi and yoga in a park while social distancing, of course. Is that like, what are you doing for your self-care? Is that what you're turning to?
It was? I didn't know about that.
All I did was put in Gavin Rossdale, and then I hit news, and it showed you doing Tai Chi, which I think maybe I should take up. And I was wondering, are those kind of, sorry to bring up a tabloid article, but I thought it was, that sounds cool that he's doing that. Is that something you normally practice to stay, no pun intended, zen? And I seriously didn't mean that as a pun.
Right, no, I was just doing some, that was actually just some straight up kung fu. It just was like, I was just in the park, and I was just, where I go to my space, and I was doing that. So I'm just like, there was someone there. I'm just like, wow. I didn't realize there was someone there. So I go do that. It's just, no, it's keeping physical, keeping active. And, I love to sweat and be physical. I love that. I'm addicted to my endorphins rushing around my body, and I really like it, even though I can be lazy. I enjoy lazy. I do love going out and like sweating and doing my thing. So that's just being active in the park and just messing around. So I don't have any earnest, overly overwrought routines of things. They're just different ways of moving my body and different exercises.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Flowers on a Grave, which has a theme of loneliness that suddenly now is taken on some new and very direct meaning in what we're going through. But as you listen back now to The Kingdom, various tracks on it, the theme that you're talking about, are there certain other tracks or lyrics that resonate with you where you're like, oh, wow, like now suddenly that is so timely?
Well, there's a song called Our Time Will Come, which is a really elegiac song about those of us that haven't found what we're looking for, or we're restricted in what we're looking for, and it hasn't quite manifested. And so that's sort of a hopeful song. I really do like that. Undone, which was my last my last love affair, and I had to write a song. My manager said, you need a song and a ballad for the record. So I wrote that on a Sunday, sat down, I was like, okay, now I'm going to write this song, and it's a ballad. I love writing ballads, but I was like, I wanted this record not to be ballad-like. And I really enjoyed writing that song. And, whatever the song was pretty, and it was emotional, it was hard, and it was painful to kind of read it back and see what I needed to spit out. And but it's beautiful, and I recorded it the next day. And I did actually try and sing it again in the studio when we were working on this material. So, okay, let's re-sing this when we did overdubs on it. But I never found the same spirit on it. So I kept that. I never had that. Like it's literally it's a 24-hour song. It was written and recorded, and I think that gives it a fragility and a beauty and a sparkle that when you overwork things or you think things through to the nth degree, which is also a good way of doing it, you can't ever have that. This has a spontaneity that is just undeniable because it really was spontaneous. So I like having that on there because it's really brave. There's, I'm really dead proud of this record. I just have to look at one. I could talk to you about any song on there and be like, why that was really happening. There's a song Blood River, which was, I don't often do songs. Often they're like personal landscape songs, like emotional things. And but this Blood River was, I saw this picture. I've never been inspired from a picture. Actually, it's very beautiful red, not a million miles from your hair color, actually. And it's a river up there in the Highlands. And It's contaminated, I guess, by the zinc in the rock. So it's bright red. It's amazing. And I was reading about it, and they had these steps going down to this place called the Devil's Pulpit, because they called it the Devil's Pulpit. And I've been accused of being the devil so much that I got really connected to that. I thought that so I wrote a song based off of that place, and that place being a sort of a place of high drama and high stakes life. And so that song, I'm just thinking of that song. And the wear a sweater like something for opening word. I think the open line is I wear your. I can't remember what the lyric is, but it's a really good one.
Do you want to look it up?
I wear your heart like a sweater or mine. Whoa! My front door just opened. That was trippy.
That is strange.
Don't go anywhere. That's what the hell?
Is that Chewy?
Yeah.
Chewy. I remember meeting Chewy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's keeping connection with heartbeats. We have heartbeats. We heartbeat together. Sits on the sofa and just hang out, put my hand on his chest.
Aww.
Heartbeat.
Aww. Who's called you the devil? You say people have called you the devil. Were you just joking, or who's called you that?
Well, not quite the devil, but definitely. I mean, I played devil's emissary in Constantine. I don't know. I think that. Yeah, no one's probably called me the devil. No, I'm not Rob Zombie or something like that.
Is this last year when I interviewed you when you came to Yahoo? When
devil, by the way, I'm just saying he looks.
No, he's got the devil persona. I think he would take that as a compliment, actually.
Well, great.
Last year when you came to Yahoo to do an interview around the time that Bush were about to do the tour with Live, you were talking about a record. I have the quote up. We were doing it with Tyler Bates, the film composer, and you described the album as amazing and liberating, and deep and wide and heavy like the ocean. So was that the Kingdom? Is that what the Kingdom became? Yeah,
it really did. Apart from the as I say, the kind of intimate moment of the ballad, which it fits in there because it's still in the vein. It's still my dumb voice on it, so it still sounds the same. But it's just a reprise from that style. But it was, it's funny, from the beginning of making music, I love dub bass. And so even though I've been in a rock band, my whole life, all my bass lines and everything I start with, I often start with bass lines, and they're all super dubby. Me wanting to be dubby. Mm-hmm. And I love that repetitious, that cycle, that cycle of music, and then you sing on that phrasing of that rhythm, and doing riffs, extending riffs. You find the same thing as what I find on the bass lines. So what I mean liberating is that I had the words ready, and then you sit in the studio and just make riffs and do things. You just can play that riff for 10 minutes. It just feels great. And so then it transfers beautifully to live. I think so much all the time about our live show. Everything about our bands now is, of course, making great records, but it's also being mindful of how you can put on amazing shows. And it does me no good to do, for instance, a ballad of mid-tempo ballads with acoustic guitar, a record of that, because I'll never stand up live when I play it in the monumental kind of mountainous terrain of the catalogue. They just can't compete. They just sound like, oh, someone didn't care. So I had to make a record that's just arrives like the new kids on the block. And I wanted the record specifically to be so that people could hear Flowers on a Grave, Bullet Holes, get that record and connect with it. Don't have to know anything about the catalogue whatsoever, And if there's ever a way to kind of continually reinvent yourself as a band, as a unit, is to make records that are standalone. You don't need to play 3 of those tracks. All right, give us all right, give us a bit of Razor Blade Suitcase. No, it's like this. It won't, because it would give my guitar player Chris a heart attack. But you could just play the new record, You know, that's what my dream. You'd be like a brand new band, like, okay, I like this record, check this out. Maybe you can't lose yourself in the soundtrack as much because you don't have these songs ingrained in your DNA. But I wanted to make sure that you could play any song off that record, and it wasn't like, well, this is track 9, but you know, just track 9. You know, I think track 9 is really happening.
Well, this is a common theme because I remember last year when we did that other interview, you definitely bristle against nostalgia. Like, I remember I was like, so it's the 20th anniversary of 16 Stone. How's that? And you were like, I don't want to talk about that. And I was like, oh, okay. Even though obviously you were celebrating that anniversary, like you really don't like to kind of go back to the past. You're very anti-nostalgia. Why is that?
Just because I think as an artist, you just want to remain vital and to rest on your laurels and be sort of with your head backwards all the time is just not what's really interesting to me. It's inevitable, and you know, it's a real double-edged sword because I'm really privileged to have a catalogue that people care about, and I'm certainly not of those bands or people that won't play a certain song because that was like, oh, and that's my laughing gnome, and that song, I don't want to play that song. Not you should play laughing gnome, but I just mean that you know, all those songs that are even maybe some of them are like the more grunge, more basic. Those ones, they got me where I am, and I don't want to be. I always think about shows as if I was there, and when I want to go and see someone I love, I want to see everything I love them for, and I want to see something of where they're at now. I do like when they play new material, but the new material has to be good. It just can't be just because it's per se new material. That's not, you know, it's got to be compelling. When we play Bullet Holes, it's one of the highlights of the show for me, and I think for the audience, is just primal in that whole run we did last time. I played Flowers once in Vegas. But I think that's the main thing about the record I'm so proud of, is that I think it's really vital. You know, it has a vitality to it. And you have to, just keeps me, you know, tuned in terms of being an artist. And there's people that do that, they don't play. I mean, like certain bands just only have to play their big songs. You know, when Rage don't need to make another record ever again. And they can just headline every festival they ever play, and they're incredible. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's mad at them, you know, for not making new music, because they're amazing. Now I know them, and I'm sure there's many, you know, reasons why that they're logical. So you just take it as it is. You know, System of a Down, it's the same. You know, like, these bands are amazing. Everybody wants to see them. Can you just write a new song for us? What are you doing? Like, what? It's like new. You know, it gets tiring of the same catalogue over and over. So, you know, Guns N' Roses, the most incredible. That band that record is just, it's incredible. It's a stadium record. That's a stadium record, single-handed stadium record. And you want them to play every song of that, but I'd love it if they went and made a record.
It's funny, I was actually literally about to say Guns N' Roses, because, you know, they've been touring now so successfully for 2 or 3 years now, but no, not even one new song. Queen are actually a band I'd like to see try to do at least one new song with Adam Lambert. Now they've been touring with Adam for so long. So I see your point for sure.
I just think it keeps it interesting. I don't understand, you know, all the best artists in the world, the great artists, you know, Lucian Freud, best figurative painter, you know, who just recently died at whatever it was, 10 years or something like that. You know, they kept on painting, they kept on doing stuff, it become more interesting. I mean, I definitely don't feel that. I feel really excited about the records that I'm making right now, that we're making, and the words I write. I just feel really proud of them. I don't feel like there's no cop out. There's no sort of like, okay, fulfill a contractual obligation. Now can you know, play Swallowed? You know, it's not. I don't think like that. I just like to have Bullet Holes and then play Swallowed, which is tough to follow. But you know what I mean? I mean, we in this job that we have, this world, there are no precedents that you just follow your own path. You follow your own thing. Like for me, I shouldn't really have done any of the things that I've done. You know, being lucky enough to be in as successful a band as I've been in, making records now, living in the house I do, having the dog I have, having the friends I have. What gives me that right? You know, I'm sort of grateful. I have all these different blessings, and one of the, and I'm not religious, by the way, but I like the word blessings. But I think that it makes my life more interesting to push myself to write a record like that. It's like makes it much more interesting. Imagine if you're doing an interview with me about going on tour, and but I hadn't bothered to make new records. You'd be like, "What am I going to interview him about? It's boring. Nothing going on. There's nothing, you know." And instead, we have like, "Wow, look what you said a month ago about this new world order," and then we get confronted with this enforced new world order. I mean, to me, that's like, the artist in me just goes, yeah, that feels that it's my destiny to be in the right place and to be thinking and writing the right things and to be connected to, I'm not spiritual really, I'm definitely not religious, but I am connected to, I believe in the universe and I believe in the connected power of people. You know, Milan Kundera said it's not about countries you're from, it's about activities that you do and jobs you have. So writers will get along, people that write for a living will get along with someone who writes words for a living. You know, and you find all these people, like I love tattoo artists, you know, I love artists, I love painters, I like, you know, mixed media artists, I like people that have ideas and they don't, you know, no one has solutions, everyone just has ideas and presents things and people talk about it and that's what's incredible. We really communicate. I have one song on the record called "Words Are Not Impediments," and that's words is words are the basis of everything. Communication is the key to civilization. You know, we are all starving for connection and starving for understanding and empathy and like-mindedness, and so only by writing those songs and being in that thing that I'm in that world. I don't want, yeah, I'm not in an ivory tower, very small ivory tower. I'm not.
It looks kind of ivory behind you.
It's actually brilliant white. I don't do the ivory.
Well, since we're talking about creativity and not resting on one's laurels and such, are you taking advantage of this unexpected downtime to do creative things, whether it's write new songs or...
We'll tell you what I'm doing, but I want to preface it really importantly. The self-righteousness has slightly crept into this quarantine when people go, you know, yeah, I learned Russian in the quarantine. What do you do? Like, I don't like that. You know, I sort of probably side more with people that don't finish the book or don't finish things because I feel more empathy with that. But what I personally have been doing is I wanted to do it before I was going to this quarantine, and that is to really apply myself and try and get better at guitar. And I have a guitar teacher, and I said to him, could I do like 3-4 days a week with him just before I was going to Australia and really just like go back to school and just sit there and just play things that I can't play and struggle through things and try and understand music better. And then we were afforded that opportunity. So I've been doing that with him, been doing Skype lessons and studying and trying to get better at guitar. You know, it's just the hours you put in. You know, it's the hours you put into what you do that you find. And so this has given me that. I've done a little bit of seen pieces of Tiger nonsense.
Tiger King?
Yeah, because everyone was talking about it so much. I've been looking at that and just finding like it's like watching this car crash. I've been seeing snippets of it, so I don't quite understand what's going on. But is it just that? Like these two people warring factions, this tiger place, this guy who marries all these young, handsome dudes who seem to have like, you know, drug problems and just they're handsome with drug problems. It's just like, what is happening? I feel worse for the animals. And what's a tiger doing in Florida anyway?
Yeah.
That's not cool.
That's why I haven't watched it. I am probably one of the few people who hasn't watched it, but I thought it might be promoting animal cruelty. So, like, you know, lots of animals don't like to be in captivity. So I haven't watched it. However, I do like that lowest common denominator type of content. I watch reality TV and trashy TV, so maybe I'll give it a chance if you're saying it's enjoyable. Does it have redeeming qualities?
I literally saw it in passing because I have spent a lot of time in preparation for these little mini shows I've been doing because playing them on my own, I can't mess up too much, and I've got to practice them and know all the chords, and you know, I've done like 3-4 of them now, so it's like 15 or 16 songs, which of course I should know, and I do know, But still, it's like a little bit of pressure. So you feel you've got to just rehearse on a bit. And that's taking time. And then I had my kids here for the first couple of weeks. So that was like I didn't have time for anything. Did nothing but whatever they needed. And that was a really beautiful time. I really enjoyed it. Very nurturing and connected. And then when they went to their mums, I go, oh, I could be super selfish now. So now I'm living a selfish life and doing what I want, which is kind of, it's weird. There's a strange thrill about it. You know, I've been doing a lot of work in the daytime with the promo stuff, but there's something weird about, oh, what can I do tomorrow? Oh, play guitar for 2 hours. Oh, watch a film in French only. Watch, do nothing. Walk around. Take the weeds out of that corner of your yard. What do you do? That's kind of interesting.
How is the family holding up? I know your kids are of different ages, and a lot of parents are now finding themselves in a homeschool situation they weren't prepared for, having the kids home from school. Like, how as a parent are you dealing with that? It sounds like it's been positive for you.
They're on spring break now, so it's I think it's easier for their mom right now. But actually, the homeschooling worked out quite beautifully because it's all two of the older ones had set times they had to be in front of their iPads, and the little one had like a list of chores to do, which she really loved doing. So I could just go between the rooms. It was strangely fine. They're really getting through it. This, you see, I have a problem with it because it all throws up different things that I think about. That immediately makes me think about, well, so what are the people with no money whose kids, they depend on food going to school, food for them, and they don't have the ability to take iPads home. So I just feel like a bit of a, when I talk about that, because it's not really a dilemma. And I think of those people doing that. There's a lot of people who depend on, for instance, here, well, everywhere really, but the school system to feed their kids. Then they can't go to work, or certainly many of them are restricted to work, and they've got to feed their kids that aren't at school. I know there's lots of local initiatives and local programs about it, but it's harrowing to think about those consequences. So when I start drifting into like homeschooling, I just feel like I'm in an idiot. It's a bit.
I understand. Since music is therapy for a lot of people, I know you're not a nostalgic person when it comes to your own career, but I do know from going record shopping with you in the past, you love to talk about music that you grew up with and music that is important to you. So I thought it would be fun to end with a little lightning round about, if you'll humor me, about some of your favorite music.
Sure.
So, what was the first album you ever bought, and from where?
It's X-Ray Specs, Germ-Free Adolescence, from Manzy's record store, which is at the top of my street. I bought singles before then. That was the first record I bought.
Wow, pretty hip. How old were you buying X-Ray Specs?
I was 13 at the time when the whole explosion, so it was really perfect for me. And I was lucky that I lived up the road. The first record I bought was Gary Glitter, I Love You Love, and I used to have those record players that played it forever, and then it was on permanent repeat. I would have given, and then going up the road, this is a very Malcolm Gladwell-esque concept, because up the road from me was a record store called Manzy's, the third or fourth store up the street from me. So I could take my pocket money and go spend it there, and they gave me all my kind of schooling and all the records to get and all the records to try, and you just buy singles. So X-Ray Specs is the first one that I think I remember really. Maybe David Cassidy.
Oh, nice.
I have one record of his, but that might have been a gift. Or he was wearing a Starsky and Hutch sweater on it. He was in a rocking chair. Kind of.
That's a look. I know we're running out of time, so I'll just ask you a couple more of these. What was the first concert you ever attended, and where?
The Nobodies, which was my sister's boyfriend's band, and that would have been sort of out the side door of some pub in Highgate, or no, Highbury, where I wasn't really, it was too small, not really allowed in, but I would help roadie, and then I'd watch the gig from the side, watch them playing. Nobody heard of them, but they were the beginning of my musical watching career.
Very cool. Oh, go on, sorry.
No, I mean, that would be the first one that I saw, first band I saw playing, kind of go, what is this noise? Amazing.
Well, that might be the answer to my next question. I was going to say, what was the moment, artist, song, video, album, single, concert that made you say, I want to do this too? I want to make music too.
I don't have the romantic interlude of when that penny dropped, because I didn't feel secure enough. I loved music forever, and I was completely disassociated with being able to make it. I listened to it, right? But what the liberating moment was seeing, and I was in a band, but I wasn't very good, and I didn't really understand what I was doing in a band. I just didn't want a job. And I saw Jane's Addiction at Acklam Hall in Portobello Road, and I'd never seen a front man like Perry. And that was when Eric Avery was the bass player, and he just stood at the front on the thing, and the way that he played. And this wasn't at all the first show I ever saw by any means, or I'd already been playing and doing shows. And, you know, I loved Hendrix, I loved the Doors, and, you know, I loved the whole punk movement and the Public Image. But seeing that show and witnessing someone on stage being that electric, I suddenly realized, because don't forget, at the same time as My Bloody Valentine, so you're going to see the shoegazer bands, nothing much happened. They literally gazed at the shoes. Mops. There was a moment, but that's why I never really related to like the Oasis. You know, it was massive to see them do nothing. It's kind of cool. But when I saw the frenetic energy and the performance of Perry Farrell and David Yao from the Jesus Lizard, I was liberated into knowing that you have to find your own way of doing it. I'm not as free or as good as them, but I found a way to just unlock whoever I am on stage. That was it. After that, I was like, I am so free. Like I just shot a movie called Three Nuns before the Corona thing, and with Janelle Cunliffe, who's a first-time director. Donovan Leitch is producing it.
Nice.
I don't know what's going to happen. Bella Thorne's in it. She's incredible. And I love doing that because it's so freaking free in it. Because, I mean, probably too free. And I probably create my own gifts for the next couple of years because I do a lot of cocaine in the movie. But
oh, wow.
But that all comes from that freedom, which again I also saw in the Sex Pistols. You know, I gravitate towards certain performers, but that gig thing with Perry, and now I'm, you know, I suppose in a way, you know, very distantly but nicely, I'm friends with him, and I admire him so much as an artist. You know, he's incredible man.
Okay, and my final question along those lines is, what song by another artist makes you go, damn, I wish I'd written that?
Aerials by System of a Down, Duality by Slipknot, Yesterday by Paul McCartney.
All good choices.
My Mind, the Pixies.
I remember someone saying that when you were a coach on The Voice UK for the one season you were on, and they did it just for you. It was like Gavin bait. They wanted to be on your team, and they knew if they sang that song.
I knew it when I heard it. I was like, oh, that's to me so sweet. So I chose. I said yes.
That was a good strategy on her part. Well, we have run out of time, but I've enjoyed talking to you as always. Hopefully next time we do this, it will be face-to-face and not on Skype. But I definitely want to thank you for the one bit of social interaction I'm getting today. And, you know, for all the eloquent things you had to say about what's going on in the world. And I really look forward to The Kingdom coming out in July. Maybe one day we'll live in that utopia.
We shall. We are. I believe you're in there already. I think you're there already.
As are you. Thank you so much, Gavin. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.